Is this retribution on your part?
No, it's the opposite. I think I've been very mild-mannered. You're looking at a man who was indicted many times, and I had to beat the rap. Otherwise, I couldn't have run for president. They tried to get me not to run for president by going after me and by indicting me. You know what? You know who got indicted? The man you're looking at. I got indicted, and I was innocent. And here I am because I was able to beat all of the nonsense that was thrown at me. A dirty cop like Comey, or a guy like Bolton, who I hear I don't know anything about it. I hear he took records all over the place. Who knows? Letitia James is a terrible, dishonest person, in my opinion.
Okay, that was President Trump telling CBS's Norah O'Donnell it's not retribution, as the Justice Department filed criminal cases against former FBI Director James Comey, New York State Attorney General Letitia James, and Trump's former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Let's bring in former Trump White House Deputy Counsel Gene Hamilton. Gene, it's great to see you again. Gene, so when you heard all this and you put it into the context of this new fight that Democrats and the media are calling this Trump retribution, would you see it full 360? How does it look now about what's going on with these cases against those three we just talked about and what happened with Trump?
Well, what I see a Department of Justice under Donald Trump's leadership that is committed to actually seeking real and true justice, which, if you are a wrongdoer, if you are a person who was trying to weaponize the government against people that you didn't like, can feel a lot like weaponization. But in fact, it's the complete exact opposite. We have a Department of Justice under the last administration that tried to charge Donald Trump with illegally retaining information that he was legally entitled to have as the President of the United States. So what we saw over the last 4 years was a lot of trumped-up charges, a lot of made-up charges, a lot of novel legal theories being applied to take out political opponents. What you're seeing today is the simple pursuit of actual justice.
So it was a federal grand jury. That's what, in the Eastern District of Virginia, it indicted both James Comey and Bolton. And, James Comey and Letitia James. Bolton was indicted by a grand jury in Maryland last month on 18 counts accused of taking U.S. classified secrets. And it's basically Comey is perjury and obstruction, and Letitia James is bank fraud. You think those cases are strong?
I think that the facts that the Department of Justice laid out, the charges that they obtained from the grand juries, are going to be good cases for them to be able to bring to a jury and try in court. The evidence that they brought forward is very, very strong and compelling in each one of those cases. What those juries do with that information is a different deal. It's a different story. They're not the most favorable districts in the world. But the fact is that a grand jury approved each of these charges. We're going to see what happens. Again, this is just not about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. This is not about the weaponization of anything. This is about seeking justice for wrongdoing.
Got that. Now, let's move on to what Senator Ted Cruz told Maria Bartiromo. Why what the Biden administration did and to Republicans is much worse than Watergate, that Jack Smith and the FBI secretly targeted for surveillance more than 430 Republicans and entities for the 2020 probe. Listen to this.
Arctic frost is Joe Biden's Watergate. And in fact, in terms of abuse of government power, it makes Watergate pale in comparison. In November of 2022, Donald J. Trump announced his re-election campaign for president. 3 days later, the Biden Justice Department appointed Jack Smith. Jack Smith was appointed with one mission: stop Donald Trump. Do not let the American people vote for Trump as president. And he took his orders and launched a dragnet, the scope of which has never been seen. He issued at least 197 subpoenas directed at over 430 individuals and organizations, all Republicans. So he went after the Republican Attorney General's Association. He went after Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. When you have the Biden Department of Justice subpoenaing 20% of the Republicans in the Senate, it is an egregious abusive process. It is a fishing expedition. And I believe that the House of Representatives should impeach Judge Boasberg.
Yeah, Judge Boasberg is the same guy who approved the FBI wiretap on Carter Page, and that FBI agent got a slap on the wrist for misleading the court about that. He's also the judge blocking Trump's deportations. Put this together. Final word.
Yeah, Liz, said Ted Cruz is 100% correct. This is the most egregious example of weaponized government that I think we have seen in decades and decades. My own organization was on the receiving end, apparently, for some of our own records, and we just discovered this a few days ago. We didn't exist on January 6th of 2021. We did not exist, and yet they were still coming after our records. There has to be justice. There has to be accountability. I'm confident that we'll see it, but there has to be change.
Great to hear from you, Gene Hamilton. Interesting stuff. Gene, you're always terrific. Thank you so much.